Appreciate it. Right.
Hey, Dad, hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, cool. Coach Darren Rizzi is here with us. If you have a question, just throw it in the chat and we can get started. Thanks. First one's from Luke Johnson.
Hey, Darren. Having been in the NFL for a long time, have you ever seen a punter who takes care of his body the way Thomas Morstead does?
No. The guy that I worked with in Miami, the long snapper that was there for a long time, John Denny, when I first got here, those guys remind me a lot of each other, in terms of just taking care of their bodies, having a great routine. We were joking, I think during the quarantine, Timo had some videos floating around. I'm not a social media guy, but I think my family was showing me some clips of him, out working out there in the quarantine, doing dips with, all these 45-pound weights off his belt and all that stuff. So no, I mean, listen, he does a phenomenal job. I think, longevity in this league, no matter what position, requires phenomenal, physical concentration with your body. And I think, Timo's just a great example of that. He's a guy that, just has just a phenomenal routine. I obviously knew the player very well before I got here, but not the person and not the, not his, daily routine, I guess is the best way to say it. So getting to know that over the last year and a half has been impressive. Not only is he an impressive person to be around, but certainly just really a role model for some of, those younger guys that come in, and just watch how a guy has just a really good daily routine, how to be a pro and really take care of themselves. So it's been impressive.
Like, we could probably count on him whenever he's done playing ball to go win an Ironman triathlon or something, right? Something.
I mean, he's going to do something. I mean, he makes me feel bad sometimes. I mean, I sometimes I'm with him and I'm like, I better work out today. So he's a motivator for me sometimes as well. But yeah, he's going to be something. CrossFit, one of these Spartan races, something. I mean, he's going to have to get involved in something for sure.
Next one's from John Usager.
Morning, Riz.
Hey, John.
Riz, you had 2 All-Pros last year in Deontay and TJ, and then you get a Pro Bowler and Will. So, you got a unit that, blocks kicks and deflects punts and that kind of thing. What's the ceiling for your unit?
Listen, our goal, quite frankly, is to be the best unit in the league. And so that's kind of what the standard is. And, I'm very proud of the fact that those guys all had, got accolades last year. But really, when you look at the reasons those guys are getting the accolades, is really because of everybody else. And they'll be the first guys to tell you that. All those guys are phenomenal individual talents. But, you go like with a guy like Deontay, it starts with the blocking and the 10 other guys that are doing their job for him. Will Lutz will be the first guy to tell you that it's the operation, it's Zach, it's Thomas, it's the protection. And then JT, same thing. JT is a guy that really flourished last year and took advantage of the other guys around him doing well. So, the ceiling for this group, and we certainly have our goals every year, is we want to go out there and no different than the offense and defense. We're looking to be the number 1 unit in the league. And that's really, we come to work every day. The players will tell you, we have that 1/11th mentality that's kind of our credo, just everybody doing their job, being accountable. And I'll tell you what, it's been contagious. It really has. You start with our leaders, guys like Craig and guys like Thomas, our captains, and then you got guys like Hardy and JT, and then, you add a new guy like Deontay into the mix and but there's a lot of guys that played well last year for us, and not just the guys that got the accolades. I mean, Dwayne Washington, his second half of the year last year, I thought was as good as anybody. We really didn't touch on Justin Hardy, who I think a lot of time draws a lot of attention, which frees up some other guys to make some plays, and that kind of goes unnoticed sometimes. And so, there's really a bunch of guys there. And I'll tell you what, I'm really, really proud of the leadership we have. I'm proud of the work ethic we have every day. And so, it's refreshing to go out there on the field every day and to have that mentality with those guys. And you know what? I know what their goals are individually, but collectively is more important. And I think, it's just really, really, like I said before, it's really refreshing to go out there and work with those guys every day, because I watch on a daily basis how those guys work, and I know what their goals and their ceiling, what they're hoping to shoot for. So that's really impressive as well.
Next question's from Douglas Mouton.
How special would you say is Deontay's ability to cut, his ability to go 0 to 60 in no time? Is he special as far as quickness goes, even among NFL kick returners? Is he at a slightly different level, just quickness, would you say?
Yeah, it's really interesting when you go back and start with the process to bring Deontay here. It was the first thing that jumped off. His college tape is certainly his explosion, his make you miss ability is what I call it. He's got that ability to make people miss in the open field. And so, when we first started, scouting Deontay and looking at him, that jumped off the film is the fact that this guy had just really had a special open field talent. And then you really didn't know if it was because he's playing in Division II or maybe at a lower level. And then I can literally remember when he came here for rookie camp, we did an open field drill. Well, we call it the cover drill, where guys are going down. And there's really no blockers involved. It's really just the returner against cover people. And that was, again, kind of think how he first got noticed here by the other scouts and the other coaches is we're doing this drill. And that's exactly what he did. He went from 0 to 60. He made people miss. And it was kind of like, wow, this guy's got some rare talent. And then obviously he, progressed into the preseason, did it again. He just kept doing it. He keeps doing it. And, he did it in the scrimmage the other day on an offensive play. And I'll tell you what, I don't know if there's a guy that I've coached before that has that a quicker first step than Deontay and just make him miss ability. So it's certainly, his calling card at this point, and there's no reason for me to believe that will, continue to be the case.
Next question's from Amy Just.
Yeah, two-part question here. For one, how have you seen Blake, come into his own the last couple weeks? And then how have you seen Thomas kind of coach him up?
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to start with the second part of that, Amy. It's been, Thomas, as I said before, not only just with his body, but Thomas is a true pro. And so, here's a guy. I remember when we were talking to Blake about coming here, as a free agent. And one of the first things Blake said to me is, wow, being able to learn from a guy like Thomas Morrison. I grew up watching this guy. And, you take Blake, what's Blake, 23 years old, and Thomas has been in the league now, 12 years. And so when he started watching, Thomas years ago as a teenager and as a young guy. And so, he came in with that mindset to learn from this guy, and Thomas has certainly not disappointed him. I watch those guys on a daily basis interact. I watch how Thomas, is really going through a lot of the finer points of the game with him, a lot of the off-the-field things that were mentioned earlier, how to take care of your body, having a daily routine. And then certainly the technical part of the position, just all the things that encompass a good punter, your timing, your drops, all those different things. And Blake's really been a sponge that way. He's really learned from Thomas and taken as much information as he can. Blake's a really intelligent guy. I think if Blake wasn't playing football right now, I think he'd be in medical school. I'm not talking out of term there. I think he's a guy that's an aspiration. He's a two-time academic All-American. So here's a really bright person that's taken on a mentor in Thomas and really learning and growing from him. Now, as far as Blake, how's Blake come into his own? Listen, like any rookie, he's had your ups and downs. He's had some moments where he's really done a good job. He's also had some moments that he's certainly. Some learning opportunities. So, like any rookie, again, we're asking Blake to do a whole lot. He's doing, he's holding, he's punting, he's kicking off. There's certainly some talent there to work with, and he's had his peaks and valleys. And I think that, that learning process with Thomas is really helping him at this point.
Next question's from Amos Morale.
Yeah, Coach, you last time we talked to you, you mentioned having to get kind of creative to allow you guys to evaluate the special teams unit. And I was just wondering how that's been going for you, and how have you found that evaluating the talent without the preseason games?
Yeah, I'll tell you what, it's really made you self-evaluate as a coach, and because obviously this whole situation's different this year with the way we're practicing, and so we've got to get creative. And I think we've done a good job to this point. We've really created some competitive situations out there, whether it be 11 on 11 or some one-on-ones, to be able to evaluate guys. And we're trying to duplicate these preseason games that we lost as much as we can. And so it's gotten, we've done a lot more of that than we normally would have to this point. And it's been a really good evaluator for us. And not only the evaluator, what I've learned myself during this, new season, if you will, or new preseason, whatever you want to call it, is, I've taken some things that I'm going to use more in the future because I think the players are getting more out of it. It's become more competitive. We've set up more of a competitive, some competitive drills in practice. And so, I've learned from it too, and something I'm going to continue to do. And the players are really buying into it. We go out there every day. And as I said to the players in a meeting just yesterday, I think our guys are making each other better, which obviously we lost those preseason reps where your opponents are kind of, challenging you and you're competing against those guys. We've done it for ourselves. And so it's been interesting. It's definitely been interesting, but I think we're getting something out of it. And I think we've really done a good job. The players have, I'm saying, of making each other better in those competitive situations.
Next question from Catherine Terrell.
Hey, how has Tommy Stevens adjusted to his role so far? And where do you see him fitting at this point in camp? I think, was he filling in for Taysom at personal protector a few weeks ago? I don't know time anymore.
Oh, good. I don't even know what day of the week it is, Catherine, so don't worry about it. I'm good with that. You know what? Tommy, we've tried to use at multiple positions. Here's a guy, obviously, that, played quarterback, was an athlete, all that stuff. And so coming in, I learned quickly from our Zoom meetings in the offseason that Tommy's got a real good football IQ. And so we tried him out. We tried him out at a bunch of different spots. So you mentioned the personal protector spot on the punt team. That's a spot he's played at. He's also played some other spots on the punt team. We've moved him around on kickoff return, on punt return. So he's, kind of a Swiss Army knife that way. We moved him around a different bunch of spots, trying him out as many things as possible. Don't forget that this is a guy that's never played special teams before, so he really didn't have a foundation there. So here's a guy that, we're trying to get, a feeling for and trying to get a skill. He's got a skill set. We're trying to figure out where to use that best. And so, that's obviously, what I'm challenged with as a special teams coach with all these guys is figuring out where they fit the best. And so, sometimes people could say, well, it's unfair for a rookie. You're bouncing him around, never gets but at the same time, you're trying to find, it's like pieces of the puzzle. Where does he fit best with the current guys we have, and where could he help the team the most? So he's certainly bounced around a lot. I've been impressed with the mental part. The physical part's coming along because, again, first time doing it. So it's a work in progress, but he's certainly, like all those rookies, he's a guy that we're trying to figure out the best spots for.
So if you've never played special teams before, is there one spot on the unit or units that's the easiest to fit, to plug someone in, or does it just depend on the person and all of that?
Yeah, I wouldn't say there's an easy one. That special teams requires certainly a unique mentality, for sure. There's positions where you don't have to think as much. Certainly punt is not one of them. The punt team there's a lot of thinking, involved with certainly the protection, the calls. The gunners are a different kind of, I know you asked a question about the gunners the last time we spoke. That's kind of a different animal, if you will, because they're not really part of the protection. They're just more coverage. But there's other positions within special teams where you may not have to think as much, maybe in some of the kick return stuff. But at the same time, it still requires, some thinking at some point. And again, with all these guys, whether it's 90 guys, 80 guys, 70 guys, we have all these guys. And so that's always a challenge in the preseason for the special teams staff is it's always moving parts. It's always trying new guys out, and you're trying to come up with that best combination by game one.
Next question's from Nick Underhill.
The Patriots do somewhat with Slater and Bethel, but is the level of commitment to special teams here in New Orleans, is it rare or more than maybe some other places with, all the guys are willing to carry that kind of, or special teamers first?
Yeah, it's great. It's really interesting that you mentioned the Patriots because, you know, I obviously came up in the league with the Dolphins, was there for 10 years, played those guys twice a year. And so that was always a challenge playing against those guys because they always, you know, designated, you know, 3 or 4 guys every year as quote unquote special teams core guys and maybe not play a lot of offense or defense. And so to be honest with you, I started to kind of model, you know, or tried to model that because I thought it was working very well for them when I was in Miami. I'd always admired the way Sean did it here from afar because I felt like they did the same thing. And so obviously I came here and you know, there's certain guys on our team where you would say their number one role is special teams. I know a guy like Hardy and JT Gray, you can use those guys. They didn't play a bunch of defensive snaps last year. The majority of their snaps have been special teams. And I think Sean does as good of a job as anybody in terms of emphasis on special teams. And, you know, he makes it clear to the players that, you know, listen, this is going to be something that you have to do. If you're going to be on the 53-man roster, you're going to have to find yourself in a role. You know, if you're not going to be a starter or a skill guy that's a starter, you know, if you're going to be in a backup role, you're going to have some type of, you know, role in the special teams department. And that's why we're always communicating, Sean and I, and he's always asking me what, you know, my vision for the players. And when we do personnel meetings, it's a constant question. So, you know, I've always admired Sean from afar as an assistant coach at another place because I always thought they did it right here. Now being here and seeing it firsthand, I could tell you that Sean's as committed as any head coach in this league to special teams. And it's really not a mistake why we've had success here the last couple of years in special teams. I think the emphasis from the head coach is critical and Sean does a great job with it.
All right, that should wrap it up. Thanks, Dad. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Darren.